Whilst they're going on, the ideal opportunity would be, we've got 6 players in here and we'd have 6 players in this one. If I had less players, I'd have the 4 in here and the 6 in here, or whichever way you want to do it. The idea being everybody gets to rotate and play. As I said before, this will be the 90-degree turns. This will be the 180-degree turns. Hello, I'm Mark Neville. I'm an FA youth coach developer in the Southwest. Today we're looking at turn in to create and score goals. Main session objectives today are getting the players to think about turn selection and which turn they'd like to use to create or to score goals. So we're going to look at 90-degree turns and anything in between, and 180-degree turns, and how they might use them effectively in matches to score goals. So it's a pretty simple setup today. I've given a couple of examples of how we're going to do. So the initial setup, just a rectangle with target goals, or you could use mannequins or bounce boards. I'm not particular about equipment. Equally, I've set them on the line. You could set these back somewhat, and that would change how players would defend or finish. So this particular pitch here, we're getting the players to think about 90-degree or 45-degree turns, so something like the scissors, the chop, a cut, to eliminate players. Pretty simple to start. First player will dribble out. When they get past the halfway line, which is a finishing zone in either side, he'll roll the ball into net, which triggers, as soon as the ball hits the net, triggers this player to come out. Then it's a 1v1. So this player now is on the attack. This player is on the defence. And this player is trying to eliminate this player using turns. So it could be that we're using disguise, timing and movement. So the movement to drag him over this side, because really he wants to score. They want to score in that goal there. So as the player comes across, this player looking at hips and feet in particular, so that they can use the disguise to time their turn 45 degrees to eliminate the player once over the halfway line and finish. Once again, the moment that ball goes into the goal, this player's out of the game, joins the queue, this player jumps in, and we've got a 1v1. Pretty simple stuff. Now, based on whatever turns you want the players to think about and teach in your curriculum or that are useful to you at the club, you could also have a tariff system. So the hardest trick could be worth, or hardest turn could be worth 2 points, for example, once they score. If the player loses it and is robbed, this player can double their points by stealing and scoring, and we start again with this player defending. For the purpose of the setup here, just for clarity, the C in the middle is perhaps where the coaches might stand, so we better observe what's going on. The setup we've got here, we're quite happy to have 12 to 16 players. We've got the rectangular pitch, which is the 45-degree, 90-degree turns. And then I've put 2 pitches here. They both function in the same way, although the shapes are 4 different opportunities to turn or to play. I've put the 2v2 on a triangle because 2v2 leaves us 1 goal spare or 1 area spare. And I've put the 3v3 on a diamond, which also leaves us 1 exit spare. And I'll talk about why that's important in a minute. The most important bit is square, triangle. It's triangle for 2 because we've got a 2v2, one less, means we've always got a goal spare. Same on the diamond. Whilst they're going on, the ideal opportunity would be, we've got 6 players in here and we'd have 6 players in this one. If I had less players, I'd have the 4 in here and the 6 in here, or whichever way you want to do it. The idea being everybody gets to rotate and play. This will be the 90-degree turns. This will be the 180-degree turns. So in this particular game, you'll notice that it's a diamond with the goals set a distance back. That's up to you how far you put the goals back. The further you put them back increases the ability for the players to scan perhaps and adjust and have to assess what the situation is. The reason I haven't put them on the touchline in this one, because players can stand in front and block them. So I want the players to think about how they defend, but also how they score. It's just a game, so we're playing in here. It's free to play. The objective is, if a player can get between the gates, perform one of the 180-degree turns, so either a Cruyff, it could be a scissor turn, it could be a hook, an outside hook. You pick the one you want to work on. If they can get out of the grid, back inside, they can either, if they're not under pressure, if they scanned, or if they can work it, they can then shoot to score. You get a point for leaving and performing the turn. You'll then double up your points if you can score a goal as well. You can make it directional, so you could have the yellows go into these 2 and the blues, the keeper here, go into these two, or you can have it multi-directional. It's up to you, whatever you want. In this case, we're going to let them play through all goals. The one thing we're going to say is once you've scored in one, you can't score in that one until you've scored in another goal. So the idea here, getting the players to think about scanning, making sure they're looking at what's available, what's around, where the spare goal might be. So trying to get the players to think about their timing and their movement to run off shoulders and create space, but to really work the opportunity to get into this area. So once they've got in and they can scan and adjust, have they got pressure behind, can I roll? If they've performed the trick and they can't get a pass, it's then up to this player to move and try and create a space so they can. So we're looking at trying to use 180 turns to draw players, to create space to then execute a goal. Now, both these games, and we're using this one because it's 3v3, but both these games, if you think about the 3 R's, realism, relevance and repetition, we're getting lots of repetition of the 180-degree move, but we're miles away from the realism of the game, whatever version of the game that is for the players you're coaching. But what we are dialing up is a repetition of the movement and understanding to the execution of the skill to either score themselves or to pass the score to create a goal. So what I would have, and I haven't got enough balls on the pitch at the minute, but I would have a stack of balls, perhaps, by the sides of the goal. So if a ball does go out of play, whichever team lost possession, the other team can go and grab a ball, start with a kick in, and that should restart the game, keep the game flowing. It's quite a high physical punch. It's 3v3 and it's 1v1 on here. So probably looking at anything between 3 to 8 minute games, stop, pause, do some coaching and discuss what tactics we're looking at or what particular skill we're looking at. The important thing here is to give the players a go on both pitches. So they get to experiment and try whichever turns you're looking to execute in terms of the 180s or the 90-degree, 45-degree turns. So in terms of timings, you might, and this is entirely up to you, you might have a period of time such as half an hour allocated for both pitches, or you might do 20 minutes, break that up however you want. The important thing is they get a go and try both. Okay, progressions. So once we've finished the initial set of round of games of the 180s and the 90-degree turns, we're moving on into this pitch here. Simple setup. We're looking at an area suitable for the players in your care, whatever that looks like. So an area big enough for players to have space to invade, but also that they can slide balls through. So if you looked at any of our RPA articles, about 150 RPA would probably be good for this. Big enough to run behind, big enough to slide in, but also tight enough to defend. So just with reference to RPA, or representative player area, it's a simple calculation to do, but can really help you be more intentional with the area size that you deploy. So anything 100 meters per player or below, we'd call tight, short, really extensive, like hard work and less time to scan, less time to process things. Anything over 150 we'd call middle, 200 and above, you're starting to get into expansive, really big areas. The calculation is really simple. So in this case, we've done a 40 by 45 area, divided by the number of players on it, gives you about 150 meters per player. So that's really mid RPA. So we should have good distances to attack and get into. It's not too tight. We should have good, reasonable scanning distances and surveyable distances to play in. Next to it, we've got another smaller pitch with the goal slightly offset. Both keepers on this pitch. So both games run at the same time. And I'll explain how that works in a second. We've also got lines of finishing zones. So in this case, I've used a box. I've just put another box on top, so you've got a bit in between. On this pitch, which we'll call the duel pitch, the duel pitch has a halfway line. It's almost a mirror image of this pitch. Normal laws of the game. The idea is, this is called the no block game. And I think you can probably guess why that is. We're playing a game, we're trying to play and get in a position where we can use some of the turns or skills to try and create and score a goal. So in this case, if he's faced up, if the defender is faced up in this moment, if the attacker uses a particular skill and the defender second guesses and they shoot and they blocked, well, we can't have that. Players need to think about trying to create cleaner half or whole chances to create a shot on goal. So if we get a block, these two have got to go and settle that, so there's got to be a winner. So off they go to the duel pitch. So whoever had the shot starts with the ball. It's a run onto the pitch and it's a straight duel. Each player can only score in the opponent's half. and they'll play for as long as that duel needs to go, but someone needs to score to settle it. The score is then added to the team score. Of course, that creates slightly bigger spaces, and in the situation where a keeper makes a save, well, we can't have that either. You've got to try and create a nice clean shot that fools the keeper with deception and timing, gets them wrong-footed and finishes. So the keeper and that player might have to come out, so you have to play without a keeper. Now that changes the way we press, also changes the space we're available to us, so we've really got to think about our timing and our disguise. A couple of things to think about. When we're playing the game, the things we're looking to coach deception and timing. So the player with the ball at their feet, if we can try and coach them, like we did in the smaller games, look at hips and feet, can we commit one way to get their weight shifted towards the way we want to go, but they don't. Once they're committed, then we're trying to execute the trick or the turn to get inside the player or into the goal to score. A nice clean opportunity. We're not necessarily looking for a perfect opportunity, but a player that's weighted that way, that gives me a great opportunity to shift the ball and score. So just in relation to perhaps scoring, and think about the task in relation to the step principle, it might be that you get the players to think about which is the hardest of the turns you've worked on. And it might be that you get the players to create a tariff system whereby if someone scores a clean goal with no blocks, let's say the Cruyff turn is the hardest one they've got. With a Cruyff turn to finish, it might be worth 3. So we can have a 3 for that, 2 for the second next one, and then 1 for the easiest. Also 1 just for a normal goal. Gets the players to perhaps, and yourself, to think about the task they're going after, and do you shine a light on the particular skill that you might have been working on in either one of these 2 games. Great if we let the players decide that, because they'll always tell you which one's the hardest first.